Okay, so, we've already handed out, this is the first page of the Jones residence. I'll tell you a little bit about them, even though I do have a program all typed up for you that tells you all the details. This was a charming client, single dad, two cute teenage kids, crazy dog, and a very interesting lot. This is right below Chevy Chase Circle, crazy old house. Julie will put up some parts and pieces of it. I'm sorry you can't see the existing photograph right here, but this is the yard. And the contractor was Landis Construction. The last class we had somebody in the class, one of the students was using Landis on a project, so I said, they're very good, they'll do a great job. As you could see from this list, a full set of drawings has a lot of other things that you don't need to see, but there's a lot more information, such as sheet X03 is soil and erosion notes, which I could pin up or you could take a look at it, but this is how the contractor is gonna protect the existing trees and what he's gonna do with the soil. So, as a landscape design student, you're never gonna have to draw these, but you have to be able to read them. And you know, it's not rocket science, it just is logical and just takes a little bit of time to learn how to read some of these things. Oh, but this is a good example of things like, you know, the details all have numbers. And somewhere on here, I mean, you can even from there see the hierarchy of the labels and how this all works. This is a pretty hot mess here, but there's a lot of information on here that I'm sure was typed and they just pulled out of the computer and they probably put on every drawing. It says all kinds of things about, you know, how to take care of the property before you start your work. So, we have used this project before, and everybody has done wonderful things with it. So here is a 1/16 of an inch version of the plan. The one that I gave you already says 1/16, but these drawings were shrunk. They were shrunk in half. So this is probably 1/32, and 1/32 is way too small. So here's 1/16, which is still a little bit too small.
Yep.
Does that work?
Does.
Okay, and we'll scan this into the computer as well. And you guys just pass it back. Okay, so this is Joe Jones. I think he's a lawyer for the FDA. Just a nice guy. And the ex-wife lives nearby, so the kids go back and forth from one house to the other. And that's what the dog does. So this is a little tricky to draw. So it's up to you. Again, we're gonna do 11 by 17 paper, so you don't have to spend a fortune with like $7 and $8 per copy drawings. Keep it on 11 by 17, which means that you have to, you know, do a little bit of sketching and try drawing in different scales. These from last semester are all in 3/32. So it does fit really nicely on there, but for some reason, if you think you can get the whole thing on bigger, smaller, whatever, but play with it a little bit first. So here is your program. So you'll be working on this for 2 weeks. I'll just give you a things. Yeah. And you guys will do even better. So, I don't know, but you want me to go through and read this whole thing. But you go through it.
Can I ask a question? As we're looking at the sketch, I see obviously Nevada Ave and the alley. Is the 5 feet, is there a property on the other side? And I'm not sure what that proposed existing, is those just like,
That would part of your graduate school investigative work. So you're going to Google this and take a look at what the neighborhood looks like. You can clearly see the alley from Google. And let me tell you, I am not a computer whiz.
Right. So if Nancy and Julie can do it, you all can do it. So you're going to Google Earth Nevada Avenue, and the address is 5826. And take a look at the house, which is now finished, and the existing covered porch is still there. Actually, you're going to have to look at the Google Earth or however you zoom in there and see the front of the house. This is the back of the house as it existed before they did the construction, which was finished last year. And this is what it turned out to look like. So we show you that because you may wanna do, an elevation of that or a perspective of that. You're gonna do 3 sheets. Are we missing a sheet from somebody?
I'm getting it.
Oh, okay. Oh, but this is 1, 2, oh, we're reading them backwards, they're not in order. That's 1, that's 3, that's 2. Well, it doesn't matter. Concept plan, just like we did the last project, the first thing you're gonna do is your concept plan. And that doesn't even have to be to scale, as you know. You're gonna use the big graphic symbols, and go back to read and look at things like,
Is it attention or smooth, or is there a tension symbol because it's screening because I wanted those nosy neighbor to go away or the loud dogs to go away. What's the view or real big generic terms?
So why don't those concept plans look really finished and not floppy like things that we were supposed to do?
this one. This is the good one. I put these up because we were gonna talk about good ones and bad ones. Okay, so the first drawing is the concept plan. So this is 1 of 3, 2 of 3, 3 of 3. Okay. This one's, as you said, lobby. And we've got great big huge arrows. Here's the sun. We've got we've got a barrier here, and they've drawn it, a curvy line, so it's a soft barrier. I'm not saying these are all perfect. Over here we've got winter wind, and we've got a ball playing area. We've got all the paths shown. We've got street noise. We've got lots of sunshine. One of these is upside down. Which one is upside? Which student didn't draw this in the right direction?
On the right.
Excuse me?
On the right.
No, this one's correct.
One on the left.
Yeah. For some reason, she turned it upside down. She's got north going that way. So whenever possible, north goes towards the top of your page. Okay.
So there's good and bad on each of these sheets. So we just brought it in
So you could take a look at them.
so you can have
Read through your assignment and then come take a look. Not that you're gonna copy what's up there, but, this is a graphics class, so it's about, we're not grading your ideas, we're just asking you to, try different ways to do it, work on your labeling, your hierarchy, your title block, all the stuff that you already know. So as much rough drafting as you can do between now and next week, then we can critique it for you, so we can make sure that what you have for the final is fabulous.
Okay, so next week, if there is no sketching, but
No.
if you miss some of your sketching, you may make it up next week. There is no lettering assignment, because I have seen how your lettering has improved vastly since day 1, so good job. And so bring in the concept, bring in your first attempt at the perspective, and we'll look at it and say, here's how we could help with it. Bring in questions. It's a working in-class class. So literally, you come in, and Nancy and I will go around individually and answer all your questions.
Whether you want us to or not.
Right.
And we'll critique what you've got so far. So how would you, other than the fact that, you want to figure out what size you want to do this, but in the beginning, you don't even have to worry about that. You can actually just put this on the copy machine and make it bigger for now, just so you can play with it a little bit. But what would you do with this list, which could be called the wish list, which could be called the program? How would you make this into something that you can, and you've done this on several projects already. What would you do with this in terms of making a list for yourself so that it was something that you could check off? You could leave it just like this if you want to, but there are a couple other tricks that we've sort of touched on. Maybe we should go over a little bit more.
List them out, absolutely.
You could list them out. Julie likes to write them down the side of the page. And another way, but make them shorter, New screen porch will be used for dining, bicycle storage, fuller town. So you might have one separate list that's just the screen porch. So if it's gonna have bicycle storage.
You're already getting mine. It already was
Oh,
got
yeah, she
printed,
did get
so
mine.
clearly.
Trampoline, baseball playing area, herb garden, permapaver patio.
Look at all the
fence.
advantages your class is getting.
But you can also, if rather than a list, if you think differently, you can also do it this way. You can go down the list, and some people work better if they put things in circles and then sort of see how they relate to each other. So, let's see. So you could say porch, and this could be porch. And porch needs to also have, like, again, this would be smaller, so it's got, we need dining, we need bikes, and we need quiet. Those don't really go together, but okay. Then we got trash and recycling. Well, I don't want that too close to the porch, but so I'm gonna put it down here. What, we could also call this utility. So instead of trash and recycling, we could just call it service, utility or service. So that when you go to plug them into different places on your concept plan, you've got these generic names for them rather than, okay, compost and trash and recycling. Just utility. Because then maybe you're gonna design some fabulous thing, or maybe you're not, but at least you have that option. Okay, we've got very active sun, here's a trampoline, baseball, basketball, blah, 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 all those things. So we need action zone. This cute kid. He's adopted from Korea, very cute kid, and tall, singing daughter. We need lots of circulation paths. Joe likes to read, he wants a vegetable garden. Oh, there's the porch and somebody in the kitchen. And probably he needs herbs too. Or we could just call it garden for now. Okay, so you've got them all on here, so at least you know what your blobs are. Some people do this with different colors, and they take Julie's list, that she likes to make a nice big list, and one is in red, one's in blue, one's in green, one's in yellow, and they do these in different colors. Some students actually cut out circles, so this can be referred to as a bubble diagram. Just because your brain thinks a different way, sometimes when you can see it, because we're such visual people rather than a list, sometimes this works for you. So if you're sort of having a mental block, you might try these bubble things rather than a list.
And if you cut them out and they're actually little pieces of paper, then you can just move them around on the page. It's really, it's super
It's
fast.
an interesting
way
tool. It's
to do
one
it.
that after a while, we don't do anymore, because we sort of do it in our head. But when you're first learning about, different ways to do it, I worked under the chairman of our department, and he made students do 10 different bubble diagrams. And they actually had to color them, and they had to pin up all 10, and how many different ways can you arrange these 16 things? Well, by the time you got to number 10, it was something really interesting and weird sometimes. But 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 from each student was almost always exactly the same. So to go beyond what is normal, you sometimes have to push yourself a little bit harder. So if you find it to be a useful tool, great. If you don't, it's okay. But just to know that it exists and what a bubble diagram is a good thing sometimes.
Just to, add on to this, and sort of the science or art of innovation, this is kind of part of that methodology in a sense, just like cutting out or using different types of materials to push your brain outside of the box that we get caught in.
Exactly. Absolutely. Try something different. It's great. So you're doing the 3 drawings. You're welcome to come up here and take a look at these. The second drawing is your master plan, and you all know how to do those. But you may want to work on them a little bit at a time, and then bring a little bit of each one of them next week, so you can kind of talk about them and critique them. And then the last drawing are, putting together the detailed drawings that you did last time, and there needs to be an elevation. So probably you will draw these larger and shrink them down to put them on your 11 by 17. So I'm sure that, I'm positive, most of these were drawn a lot bigger and then reduced. So she didn't draw this perspective this size. She drew it really big and then just reduced it, okay? And you can just tell somebody that you want it to be about this big or a particular scale, or just put a graphic scale. And then anybody who wants to figure out how big everything is, they can do it.
So you say we don't have to draw those to scale?
They have to be a scale. They have to be to a scale. But you can use a graphic scale, and then if you enlarge and shrink them, then they're that graphic scale.
So like the perspective, I actually drew on a big piece of paper. And then here's my fence again. So I drew it really big, but I'm gonna shrink it down so it fits into this little space. Does that make sense? Because I have a graphic, I wouldn't have a graphic scale on a perspective, but on the detail I would. If this was the detail and I shrank it down to here, then the graphic scale that's represented on it would continue. It would work down here.
Can you do graphics though, with each of the images on that page, or is it just for the entire, each image ends in
On
graphic
each
scale?
one of these, yes, of course.
If they're all different, if everything on the page is the same scale, you can just put one in your title block. But if you're using different scales, like, let's see, this is a quarter, this is a quarter, this is not to scale, and this is a perspective. So the perspective doesn't have, it's a
Right.
sketch. It doesn't have to be to scale.
And
So we just write it underneath, you said you mentioned earlier, just underneath the.
right, like the
And
sketch would be.
NTS is not to scale, so you can always put that underneath something. 1/8, 3/4, 3/8, 1/4. So this one has 4 different scales on here. So over here where it says scale, it should say as noted, but it doesn't. Okay, we're finished.
Okay. Any other
No,
questions?
And we're not leaving till 9:30, so if you wanna ask questions in private.
So on the third drawing, it doesn't look like they did the same item.
Nope, you can do
No,
whatever you want.
So you can just do.
Oh, it could be anything.
This is an elevation of the back of the house.
Right.
This is a garage, so I don't know where they got this, but that's the back of the house. There's a section detail of, we have to go up,
A piece of paving for the permeable patio.
1, 2, 3, 4, I'm looking for the 4 on here.
And here was the raised garden bed. She did perspective of that.
Here's a sketch of some garden peas, here's a fabulous legend on this one. So, explains what all the different ground covers are, she's got a gravel, got a nice legend. She's got this ladylike legend, she's got a legend here. Legend here. There's a key, which is pretty much the same as the legend, they've got one here for their concept plan. So please, come take a peek, see what's up here.
But I did notice that the title blocks on the set on the right, shouldn't they all be consistent? 'Cause
Yes.
the third one has the title block on the side instead
Yes,
of the
they
bottom.
should.
Yes, it should. And
Good
she-
eye.
Yes. And it,
Yeah, the title block should be consistent.
okay.
But I bet she couldn't figure out a way to put it here and still fit these.
That's probably, I remember.
Yep.
She couldn't. So, it was Rebecca, so I remember.
Is that?
Okay. So thank you all for a wonderful project number 5. We'll grade those tomorrow probably or the next day. We knew you did this. Okay.
Perspective.